Hey, Truth Seekers, welcome back. Zach here. In this video, I want people to realize the worth of gematria, which is the practice of coding numbers and words, and how often it is used. Right here, CNN's front page has this emphasized headline, 1,000-year level of rain. It sounds almost like a biblical statement, right? So I plugged it in. I just wanted to see all what was out there. I noticed in Jewish gematria this summed to 1916. And I said, I wonder if there was any flooding in the Carolinas in 1916. So as it turns out, the worst flood in Carolina's history was in 1916. Are you seeing this? The headline, 1,000-year level of rain, translates to 1916 in gematria. In Pythagorean gematria, it also has a connection to 118, the number for death in Jewish gematria. Of course, flooding often causes death. But it's right here. Anybody can look it up. The worst flood in Carolina's history was in 1916. These headlines allude to it. That was 99 years ago, coming up on the 100-year anniversary. Hell and high water. Also, just for those of you who aren't aware, this video channel you're watching is a little more than a year old now. I started my written blog teaching people about this work in October of 2013. And in my very first post, I focused on the Carolinas because I see in recent years from all sorts of sources, there has been all sorts of forecasting for destruction of the Carolinas. You can come back and read this post. It's the first post I ever put up on the blog. Lots of research here. Been working hard researching ever since. And right now we're getting some devastation in the Carolinas with the flooding. CNN is taunting with the headlines. Headlines that allude to the prior worst flooding in the history of the states. You know, it's just... It's amazing, Truth Seeker. It's amazing how they do this, you know? Something to think about is how this gematria is of such great significance to these people, and we, the people, have been left in the dark about gematria. You know, nobody ever taught me about gematria. It's something I found from doing research. I noticed that the media reporting seemed to be very numerological just on the surface. Once I found out about this gematria and started putting the skills to the test, a lot was revealed to me. It's what I teach on the blog. It's what I teach on the channel. You know, I've only been at this since October 2013, so not even 2 full years. The people who do this, they've had the skills their whole life, you know. There's people out there in this world who are aware of this gematria and keep it a secret. When we were in kindergarten, one of the first things we learned was the alphabetic order. If you know the alphabetic order and you can add, you can do gematria. Everybody should learn this gematria. Don't just use the calculators. Learn how to do it by hand. It'll increase your thinking. It'll increase your skill. It's good for your brain. Hell and high water, the flood of 1916. The flood of 1916 broke every record in the book. The death and destruction it caused in western North Carolina defined flooding for an entire generation of survivors, and their stories live on nearly 100 years later. Here we are nearly 100 years later, getting a repeat. And what I've also been showing on this blog is how natural disasters in this world almost seem to be on a perfect pattern, from tornadoes to earthquakes to flooding. There is history all over the world of this. A lot of it is documented in my blog. You can check out this article here. Just search 1916 flood in your engine. It should pop right up. It was Sunday morning, July 16th, 1916. What is today, Truth Seeker? Today is Sunday. Just outside of Biltmore Village, and the sun had not yet peeked over the horizon. Kathleen Lippy Carter was just 3 weeks before her 18th birthday, and she heard her father stirring. He was tying chickens and turkeys to the front porch. Carter's mother and ailing family members had already left the riverfront home to stay with friends in a second-floor apartment inside the village, but water began to spill over the banks of the nearby Swannona River, and it was time for the last of the family to seek higher ground. Think about all the families reliving this story today, huh? It's something else, Truth Seeker. I've done several videos now on the coded headlines that pertain to this Hurricane Joaquin. Lots of taunts in the headlines. This one's retelling history. 1,000-year level of rain, or maybe just 100-year level. But, you know, 100-year level of rain wouldn't have made the 1916, which is what they were after. So for anyone who doubts this gematria, thinks this is a bunch of hocus pocus nonsense, I have to say these words, think again. You know, I say that a lot. I'm always amazed by how many people come here and dismiss my work. I think if anybody invested, you know, a half hour to go through my research, they would see I'm onto something pretty significant. Evidence like this, I don't know how anyone can dismiss it. All right, Truth Seeker, until next time.